Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. 4 suicide bombers hit 2 mosques crowded with worshippers in the Yemeni capital Sana'a, killing 87 and injuring 260 others. A new round of talks between Libyan feuding parties starts in the Moroccan city of Skhirat. And European meeting in Brussels discusses Tehran's nuclear program prior to a meeting with the Iranian negotiators in Lausanne, Switzerland. Those were the headlines, and now for the news in detail. Assigned by His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, His Excellency Dr. Salam bin Nasser Al Ismaili, Chairman of the Public Authority for Investment Promotion and Export Development, left the Sultanate for the capital of Namibia, Windhoek, to attend the inauguration ceremony of His Excellency Dr. Haji Gengub, new President of the Republic of Namibia, which will take place tomorrow and coincides with the celebration of Namibia's 25th independence anniversary. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Dr. Haji Gengub of Namibia on his country's independence anniversary. Four suicide bombers hit 2 mosques crowded with worshippers in the Yemeni capital, Sana'a, today, killing 87 and injuring 260 others. A report on Houthis-owned Al-Masira TV channel said the bombers attacked the Badr and Al-Hashush mosques during midday prayers, traditionally the most crowded time of the week. Witnesses said that at least 2 suicide bombers attacked inside the Badr mosque. One walked inside the mosque and detonated his device, causing panic as dozens of worshippers rushed toward the outside gates. A second suicide bomber then attacked amid the panicked crowds trying to escape. The attacks come a day after intense gun battles in the southern city of Aden between rival troops loyal to Yemen's former and current president left 13 dead and forced closure of the city's international airport. In Morocco, Libyan delegations will meet separately with the UN Special Envoy to Libya, Bernardino Leon, to discuss proposals for a national unity government and security arrangements to pull militias out of the cities. Leon said he hoped to have them agree on proposals by Sunday, which would then be discussed by other negotiating tracks, including a meeting of armed groups sometime next week. Talks have dragged on for months in different venues with little results, as fighting has heated up in Libya. Last week, the delegation from the eastern Libyan city of Tobruk, where the country's internationally recognized parliament is based, refused to join the negotiations. Any agreement by the political factions, however, must also be accepted by various militias and warring military bands. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and his Iranian counterpart Mohammad Javad Zarif today met for a 5th day of talks in Lausanne, Switzerland, aimed at reaching a political deal that would set the stage for a landmark nuclear agreement. Zarif has been in intense discussions with Kerry in the Swiss lakeside city since Sunday to seek an agreement to curb Iran's most sensitive nuclear activities for at least 10 years, in exchange for a gradual end to sanctions on Tehran, as the March 31st deadline to reach a political framework deal is looming large. Officials close to the negotiations said plans for British, French and German foreign ministers to join nuclear talks in Switzerland are now in flux. European sources previously said the 3 ministers would arrive tomorrow to join Kerry, Zarif and senior foreign ministry officials from Russia and China. US President Barack Obama, in a message to Iran's people and leaders, said this year represented the best opportunity in decades to pursue a different relationship between their 2 countries. Obama said nuclear talks between Iran and Western powers had made progress, but that gaps remained.
This year we have the best opportunity in decades to pursue a different future between our countries. Just over a year ago, we reached an initial understanding regarding Iran's nuclear program. The days and weeks ahead will be critical. Our negotiations have made progress, but gaps remain. And there are people in both our countries and beyond who oppose a diplomatic resolution. My message to you, the people of Iran, is that together we have to speak up for the future we seek. As I've said many times before, I believe that our countries should be able to resolve this issue peacefully with diplomacy.
China and Japan held their first security talks in 4 years and agreed to keep alive and foster a nascent recovery in bilateral ties plagued by the legacy of Japan's wartime aggression and a territorial dispute. The world's second and third largest economies, however, failed to set a timetable for the implementation of a scheme designed to ensure real-time communication between their armed forces. Sino-Japanese relations have chilled over what China views as Japan's reluctance to properly atone for its wartime past, as well as a dispute over a group of tiny East China Sea islets. Patrol ships and fighter jets from both countries have shadowed each other regularly near the uninhabited islands that are controlled by Japan, but also claimed by China, prompting fears that an accidental collision could spark conflict. European Union leaders said that they won't lift economic sanctions against Russia until the peace agreement on eastern Ukraine is fully implemented. The European Council President Donald Tusk, at a news conference in Brussels, said that the European Council agreed that the duration of economic sanctions will be clearly linked to the complete implementation of the Minsk agreements. Ukraine has urged members of the EU nations to keep up the pressure on Russia until it meets all its obligations under a deal brokered in the Belarusian capital of Minsk last month. The European leaders did not impose any new sanctions, in part because of a ceasefire called for in the Minsk agreement is largely holding. European Union leaders pressed Greece's Prime Minister to speed up plans to improve his country's balance sheet in a meeting earlier today. EU leaders are frustrated about the pace at which Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras is implementing a 20th February agreement to push through reforms in exchange for their help in keeping Greece solvent. Among those at the 3-hour meeting was German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who said that Tsipras committed to providing a list of specific reforms in the coming days. European leaders have become increasingly infuriated by what many see as foot-dragging on the part of Tsipras' government. Greece agreed a month ago to push through reforms in exchange for EU help in keeping it solvent, but has delayed submitting the measures. Still to come in our news bulletin. Sky gazers in Europe and millions of others in Africa, Middle East and Asia got a partial celestial show today. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. France's gastronomy was included in UNESCO's World Heritage List in 2010. But with other cuisines on the rise, France is worried that someone might steal their crown. So the Foreign Ministry is organizing an international day to celebrate their food. Here is a report.
Bon appétit.
Salmon cooked for 20 minutes at 42 degrees. This is Raymond Blanc's signature dish. The French chef heads up a 2 Michelin-starred restaurant in Oxford. He moved to the UK from the other side of the Channel 42 years ago, but still doesn't consider himself a Brit.
Ayant vécu
You could think that having lived more than 40 years in the UK, that I'm English. That might be the most insulting thing you could say to me. I love my British friends, but I know who I am. I'm French. I feel French in every way.
Raymond, a regular guest on British television cooking shows, is a celebrity here. His empire has grown from nothing to include a 32-room luxury hotel and dozens of brasseries across the country. He also trains new talent. 35 of his former trainees are now head chefs at starred restaurants.
Because I had no mentor, what I want to do is to really teach these young people, prepare them, support them, cradle them, grow them, and it works. It's quite amazing, and probably it is the biggest reward you can possibly receive, none other than seeing these kids being at the top.
Despite being a proud Frenchman, Blanc feels that his native country is failing young chefs and stifling creativity. Only 5 French establishments made the cut in the latest rankings by respected online guide, the world's 50 best restaurants.com. And Blanc blames the country's politics for the faltering of France's culinary supremacy.
I
think personally, as a craftsman, the 35 hours have killed craftsmanship. They haven't helped. We've lost our taste for work, the pride in our work. It's up to us to get our crown back if people think we've lost it.
But politicians have come up with one way to help put French food back at the top of the menu. On March 19th, over 1,000 restaurants across the globe will put on a special French dinner designed to remind fine diners that French cuisine is still the creme de la creme.
The Arctica Forum for Scientific Creation was held in the Wilaya of Musana'a in the Governorate of South Bartana. It aimed to benefit from experiences of academic and research institutions in the science field. It included sections for astronomy, nature, recycling techniques, as well as science in the Holy Quran, in addition to displaying some books on science. It witnessed a participation from school students to highlight their talents in science, innovation and research fields. The Qaboos municipality, in cooperation with Omani Women's Association, organised various activities for children in the Qaboos Park in the Governorate of Musandam. The event witnessed a gathering from women and children. It aimed to bring joy and happiness as well as to entertain the children. It included cultural, social, artistic and scientific activities. The participants expressed that such events help in the development of a child's capabilities, in addition to instilling the good values derived from the Omani society. Ulaanbaatar is regarded as the world's coldest national capital and can see bone-chilling winter lows of -40 degrees Celsius. More details in the following report.
Mongolia's capital, Ulaanbaatar, is one of the coldest in the world. It's over 1,000 meters above sea level in a landlocked country. The lowest temperature recorded this year was -34 degrees Celsius, and Mongolians, descendants of Genghis Khan, consider this a mild winter.
Mongolians have been nomads for thousands of years. Everything we eat and wear is designed to overcome the 4 seasons. That's why Mongolians get through winter without any trouble.
Even those who still live in a traditional nomadic go manage to stay comfortable. 84-year-old Damdin Norjma believes the temperature actually helps her stay healthy.
In the winter, cold is good. It's very good to go out and walk in the winter time.
But many Mongolians also use large quantities of wood and raw coal to keep their homes warm, a major contributor to worsening pollution levels in the country known as the land of eternal blue sky.
Several dozen locals and tourists gathered at Berlin's Brandenburg Gate today to follow the moon gradually block out the sun to create a solar eclipse. Sky gazers in the German capital were among millions of others in Europe, Africa, Middle East and Asia getting a partial celestial show. As those on Earth watched out for a solar eclipse, a European Space Agency mini-satellite was capturing the phenomenon from space. The ESA's sun-watching Proba 2 mini satellite captured the footage which shows the shadow of the moon sweeping down across the brightly burning sun. The mini satellite uses ultraviolet wavelengths to monitor turbulence on the star's surface. On the icy Norwegian islands of Svalbard, people cheered and clapped as the moon blocked the sun for about 2.5 minutes under clear skies. Tourists there had been warned about polar bears after an attack yesterday. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. 4 suicide bombers hit 2 mosques crowded with worshippers in the Yemeni capital Sana'a, killing 87 and injuring 260 others. A new round of talks between Libyan feuding parties starts in the Moroccan city of Skhirat. And a meeting in Brussels discusses Tehran's nuclear program prior to a meeting with the Iranian negotiators in Lausanne, Switzerland. With that, we come to an end to tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.